The man standing in my doorway had eyes kind. That was the first thing I noticed. He looked almost apologetic, holding a piece of paper in his hand like he wished he could make it disappear. He introduced himself as Mr. Henderson. He said he had purchased the property 10 days ago. He said the deed was in his name. Then he held it up, and there, at the bottom, next to a notary stamp I had never seen before, was my signature. A signature I had never written. I had been in Tokyo. I had been sitting in a boardroom on the 42nd floor of a glass tower, presenting a federal fraud case to a room full of attorneys. I had been doing my job, thousands of miles away, completely unaware that back home in Phoenix, Arizona, my brother was selling my house. The home I had saved for, sacrificed for, paid for entirely on my own. Gone. In 10 days. He did not even wait until I landed. Have you ever stood in your own driveway and felt like a stranger? Have you ever looked at something that was yours, that you built with your own hands and your own sweat, and realized someone had simply decided it no longer belonged to you? That is the kind of moment that does not just hurt.
It reorganizes you. It breaks something loose inside that was never supposed to move. But here is what my brother did not know. Here is what my entire family had never bothered to find out. I was not just a woman with a nice house. I was not just a sister who sent money home every month. My name is Olivia, and I dissect financial crimes for the federal government for a living. They had handed the sword to exactly the wrong person. Let me take you back to the beginning, because context matters here. It always does. I grew up in a family where love was conditional on usefulness. My brother Dererick was the golden child, the one my parents called visionary, the one they excused and enabled and bankrolled through every failed scheme, every collapsed business, every borrowed dollar that never found its way home. I was the other one, the quiet one, the one who worked 2 jobs through college while Dererick spent those same years at parties funded by my parents' retirement savings. I earned my forensic accounting degree. I built a career as an auditor for the Department of Justice, tracking hidden assets through shell companies, offshore accounts, and cryptocurrency networks.
I hunted the money that corrupt executives and organized crime tried to make disappear. I was very good at it. 3 years ago, I purchased a home in Phoenix, a 4-bedroom house with a desert garden and a mortgage I was proud to carry. I had put down the payment myself, paid the bills myself, and kept the lights on myself, while also sending my parents a check every single month for 5 years. I had paid for their roof repair. I had covered their car insurance lapses. I had done all of this quietly, without complaint, because I believed that family was worth protecting. I was wrong about what kind of protection they needed. When a federal case took me to Japan for several weeks, I informed my family I would be traveling. I did not ask for a house sitter. I did not give anyone a key. I certainly did not sign a power of attorney document authorizing my brother to act on my behalf. But when I pulled up the Maricopa County Clerk's digital records from the hood of a rental car in the parking lot of a storage facility, that is exactly what I found. A power of attorney, dated October 14th, the day I was on a bullet train to Kyoto. The signature at the bottom was a near-perfect forgery of my own hand. Dererick had not borrowed my home. He had sold it. I called my mother first. I think somewhere beneath the cold clarity that was settling over me, I still wanted to believe she had been kept in the dark, that she would be horrified, that she would cry and apologize and tell me it had all been a terrible mistake. She sighed. It was a long, slow sigh of pure inconvenience, as if my discovering the crime were the real imposition. She told me to stop being dramatic. She told me Dererick had a vision, that he was building something real this time, that he needed liquidity for a cryptocurrency logistics venture, and that he would be a millionaire by Christmas. She told me I had plenty. She told me that men need to build empires, and that I, a woman approaching 30 with no husband and no children, had simply been hoarding a resource the family needed. I had sent that family over $60,000 over 5 years. I had been called greedy. Have you ever been so calm in a moment of rage that it frightened you? Have you ever felt your emotions not disappear, but simply reorganize themselves into something colder and more precise? That is what happened to me.
sitting in that rental car with the air conditioning running and a box of melted photographs on the seat beside me. The heat of the storage unit, a rusted metal box in the middle of the Arizona desert, had fused the plastic sleeves of my grandmother's photo album together. The images of my childhood, my grandmother's wedding, the only physical proof I had ever existed in a family that loved me, were smears of distorted color on dissolved plastic. Dererick had saved $50 a month by skipping the climate-controlled unit. He had incinerated my past to fund his present. The daughter in me died in that storage unit. What walked out was the auditor. I drove to a Starbucks. I ordered the strongest black coffee on the menu. I opened my laptop. The notary stamp on the forged power of attorney belonged to a woman named Sarah Jenkins. I ran her credentials. She had 2 prior complaints on record for improper notarization. That was leverage. Then I pulled my own passport entry stamp into Japan, cross-referenced it with my airline loyalty account flight manifests, and established an airtight digital record placing me on a bullet train in Kyoto at the precise minute my signature was supposedly drawing on a document in Phoenix. Physics, as it turns out, is an excellent first witness. You cannot be in 2 places at once. Then I followed the money. Dererick had told me the funds were tied up in cold storage, that I would not understand the technology, that I should simply wait for the payout. He said this the way men have always talked to women they have underestimated, with the patient condescension of someone who believes they are speaking to someone incapable of understanding. What he did not know was that I had software specifically designed to de-anonymize cryptocurrency wallet addresses. I traced the blockchain transfers in under an hour. The money was not sitting in cold storage growing towards some imagined future return. It was already spent. $92,000 to a luxury vehicle dealership in Scottsdale, a truck built for a man who wanted to look like he had arrived. $28,000 to a jeweler, a 3-carat diamond engagement ring. That explained the fiancé. $15,000 to a travel agency, first-class airfare to Cabo San Lucas, for 4 people. He was spending my house on a lifestyle. He was buying affection and status with my equity, my labor, my years, and he was laughing while he did it. I compiled everything into a single document: the passport stamps, the flight manifests, the forensic accounting trail, the blockchain analysis, the notary's prior complaint history, the forged signature. I titled it Evidence of Felony Fraud and had it printed and bound at a copy shop. 45 minutes later, I walked into the 4th precinct and laid it on the desk sergeant's counter. I told him I was not there to file a report. I told him I was there to hand him a closed case. Dererick was at a steakhouse in downtown Scottsdale when the detective arrived. The Sapphire, the kind of restaurant where they serve wagyu beef with gold leaf and charge $50 for asparagus. My parents were there. His fiancée was there. They were celebrating, raising glasses, raising the laugh of people who believe they have gotten away with something. I walked in first. I did not shout. I did not make a scene. I simply walked to the table and placed the evidence in front of his plate. I told him, quietly, that I had been in Japan when he sold my house. I told him I had the proof. His fiancée looked at him. She asked him why he had told her the money came from cryptocurrency. He told her I was lying. He told her I was always doing this, always the dramatic older sister, always ruining things. Detective Miller walked in 30 seconds later. The handcuffs closed with a sound I will remember for the rest of my life, not because it was satisfying, though I will not pretend it was not, but because it was the sound of the truth arriving exactly on schedule. My mother staged a collapse in the aisle, clutching her chest, gasping about her heart. I told the officer she had undergone a full cardiac workup at the Mayo Clinic the previous week and received a clean bill of health. I had paid for that appointment myself. She sat up immediately. As they led Dererick out, my mother grabbed my arm and dug her nails into my skin. She did not ask if I was all right. She did not apologize. She asked who was going to take care of them now. That was her first concern. Not her son in handcuffs, not the crime, not me. Who would take care of them? I told her she should have thought about that before she ate my house. Then I walked out into the cool desert evening and took the first full breath I had taken all day. Dererick remained in custody while the case moved forward. My father sent a demand letter 48 hours later,
claiming the down payment contribution from years ago constituted an investment and entitled him to half the equity. I called him directly and explained very calmly that pursuing that argument in court would require him to admit he had misrepresented a gift on a federal mortgage document. That is mortgage fraud. The letter was never filed. The lawsuit never materialized. My parents sold their recreational vehicle and disappeared into a quieter life somewhere in the suburbs. I sold the house to Mr. Henderson, legally this time, with a proper closing and a proper deed.
Then I moved into a high-rise apartment downtown. No garage, no storage, no wait. Here is what I want you to take from the story, because it is not simply a story about betrayal. It is a story about what happens when women know their own worth and refuse to negotiate it away out of loyalty to people who have never extended them the same courtesy. Financial independence is not selfishness. It is the only guarantee you have that your future belongs to you. Know what you own. Understand what you have signed. Keep records the way your life depends on them, because sometimes it does. And never, under any circumstances, allow someone to convince you that your resources are a family asset, while your sacrifices remain entirely your own. The price of my freedom was high. My grandmother's photographs are gone. A relationship I spent decades trying to sustain is over. But I am standing on my own balcony now, watching a desert sunset that belongs entirely to me. I would pay that price again without hesitation. If you have ever chosen yourself over the role your family assigned you, you already understand. Justice after 50 is not about revenge.
It is about, finally, completely refusing to disappear.